Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Can Mayonnaise Kill a Jedi podcast. I am your host, the Artificial Dragon.
And I'm your bartender, Darth Salim.
And happy Halloween, everybody. Yeah, we're kind of at the time of his recording, it is October 27th, so we're 5 days away from Halloween. But it is an exciting occasion for everyone. I am sure of it. Hey, you are forgetting we're playing a Curse of Strahd session that night, Hannah.
Yes, we are, but Halloween isn't as fun for me personally anymore like it was when I was a kid.
Yeah, that is
true. I miss going trick-or-treating. I miss getting candy.
Well, don't you worry. I am going to buy some candy for everybody and let the, if there are any neighborhood kids, get some candy as well as candy for everybody else in the D&D session.
Nice.
So yeah, happy Halloween, everybody. This is going to be a fairly special episode. We're keeping up a nice little year-long tradition of me talking about creepy subjects in our podcast.
This is the third Halloween episode we've done.
Yeah, this is the very third Halloween episode that we've ever done. I think the first one was the zombies episode.
That was the ghost episode.
Oh,
the ghost stories.
Yeah, that is true.
And the zombies was last year.
Mm-hmm. But let me see. But before we get into the episode topic, I'm going to do the obligatory Patreon stuff. If you guys love our content, we have a Patreon at patreon.com/canmail. Once again, it's patreon.com/canmail. The Discord is open for everybody. But if there is a certain episode topic that you are interested in me and Hannah to cover, we do a voting poll each month. If you contribute to our lowest tier, which is $2, to our mid to highest tier, which is $5 and $10 respectively, you will have exclusive rights to our voting rights in the Discord server. And you could put in additional topics, like you want us to talk about an alien race, technology, so on and so forth. You'll be able to throw in your vote and see how popular it is.
You'll also have access to other special channels.
Indeed, including the behind-the-scenes stuff, work in progress on thumbnail artwork, the whole shebang.
We just added a Cantina Jukebox channel.
Indeed, and you could share your tasteful musical choices to us and the Discord.
Hell yeah.
But yes, for this month, especially on Hallows Eve, our Patreon art piece is, of course, Witchling-chan. Probably the most diabolically scary Patreon art piece I've ever commissioned for the entirety of this podcast.
Especially with the yandere face.
Exactly. The, I wouldn't say a gender bent version of a witchling because it could transform into anything anyway. But yeah, if you are interested in Witchling-chan or any of the other Patreon art pieces that we have released for the past 3 years, you will be able to get them on our highest tier, which is $10, our consulars. But speaking of our highest tiers, I'm going to do a shout out for all of our loyal consulars. We have Alan Lee, Y Wolves, Cameron Lee, Dr. Emboss, Gomez, Lee Fott, Milo, Trainboy17, and Tristan H. Thank you guys so much for being our loyal patrons, and I hope you guys stick with us for future lore-filled episodes in the coming years.
Hell yeah.
And Hannah, go ahead and make your little announcement.
Celine's Cantina has a brand new look. I highly suggest you go and check it out and show me some support.
Yeah, I personally commissioned the artists, the old artists who did our Patreon art pieces for the past couple of years. They missed working for us, and I decided, you know what? I'm going to surprise Celine over here and re-innovate her cantina a little bit.
Insert artist's name here.
Yeah, they are so good. I'm hoping to use them for future pieces, including maybe my own representation for your Celine's Cantina insert.
Your Verpine?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, that will be a little bit cool. But yeah, shout out to Hannah's Celine's Cantina. I noticed that you answered my animal question a little while back.
Last night.
And yes, you did. And I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. And I appreciate all the reblogs and a few of the comments that I got on the new and improved post.
Mm-hmm.
So it seriously does help my motivation if you like, reblog and comment and send me asks. So
Yeah, make sure to send Celine very interesting questions, especially for all of her SWTOR characters, because she's got a lot of them and she likes to talk about them.
yes, there's a lot of lore there that no one's asking about.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the specials that Celine has up her sleeves, or metaphorical sleeves, I should say.
We'll see.
But yes, Hannah, what are we talking about today?
Mentioned it earlier.
Indeed I did. We will be talking about the spoopy races of Star Wars, or I suppose species is a more accurate description. I've heard that being thrown around every once in a while.
Creepy species.
Creepy species. What I mean by that specifically is like, okay, that's kind of a oxymoron, because a lot of Star Wars races are quote-unquote creepy. Like, I suppose the Zabrak are creepy looking with their spiky heads or something like that. But you get what I'm talking about, Hannah. But in all fairness, a lot of races in the Star Wars universe are kind of goofy looking.
Yeah, they're goofy looking, but they're not creepy or scary.
Yeah, but we're talking about the especially spooky races. What I mean by that is, like, maybe they look especially spooky, like maybe they resemble a werewolf, a vampire, so on and so forth. Anything you would see on Halloween. Or in other creepy aspects, I kind of expanded the creepy aspect a little bit, like what part of their culture is especially spooky, or physical aspects, that sort of thing.
Did you include the Ewoks? Just for their culture.
Well, okay, yes, the Ewoks are kind of spoopy in that regard, considering that they are kind of cannibals and do practice dark magic, but we have our own dedicated episode for the Ewoks, but thank you, Hannah, for throwing out the Ewoks.
I had to point that out. And another one, the Umbarans.
Oh, yes, don't worry. They are on the list, Hannah.
Okay.
But yes, we're just going to have a nice little time. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of cryptids in Star Wars like you see with...
We talked about that in the first Halloween episode.
Yeah. And if anybody's wondering where I'm going to be talking about the rat ghouls or anything like that, watch the Sith Spawn episode for those guys. They're a whole different ballpark. But anyway, without further ado, let us go ahead and get into the meat of his episode. And for the very first race, I'm going them by alphabetical order. And for the first race, you might be overly familiar with these guys, Hannah. I will be first talking about the one-eyed cyclopean race called the Abyssians.
Yep, I know these guys.
Yeah, and you see them a fair amount in SWTOR. They look like literal cyclops.
They are cyclopses.
But yeah, the Abyssians are a mammalian cyclopean humanoid race native to the Outer Rim world of Biss, not to be confused with the deep core world of Biss, where Palpatine's at. I know, it's kind of confusing that there are two different Bisses in the Star Wars universe.
Well, I knew about Legends Biss before Canon Biss.
Yeah. But yeah, Biss, kind of to give you an interesting perspective on the Abyssians and the way that they are. Biss is a desert world where it's surrounded by two suns, very similar to Tatooine. Both of their suns, one of the suns is also called Biss, and the second sun is called Abyss. And the world orbits in a unique figure-8 pattern around these suns, meaning the surface is almost always covered in sunlight. Most animals native to the world would either hibernate or live underground. Though in certain times of the year, the world would bear its most unbearable time when it orbited between both of the suns, which made Biss into a nightless planet, and the entire world would be just scorched by the concentrated rays from both suns. And it was a time that the Abyssians would call the Burning. So, yeah, Bis had little to no resources on it. There's very little water, there's no mineral resources to speak of, except for the Abyssians themselves, who are frequently abducted as slaves.
Yes, Darth Thanaton had an Abyssian slave named Maggot.
Yep, I remember him from the Switor comics. Does he mention him at all in his in the game?
No, I think it's mentioned in his character codex input.
Ah, yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know from the comics.
Yeah, I heard they had a fairly close relationship, and then Thanaton was forced to kill him.
Yep.
Which is unfortunate, but the Abyssians are known as a primitive and violent people by a majority of the galaxy, usually hired as petty thugs and mercenaries. Though aside from their monstrous appearance, they are well known for their regenerative powers, which allows them to regenerate any part of their body, which is one factor most believe is attributed to their violent culture. I think their regeneration is almost on par with Marvel characters like Wolverine or Deadpool.
Damn.
It is insanely quick.
That's cool.
But yeah, it says that every body cell in Abyssian is replaced within 80 hours, which is not too fast, but compared to us, it is extremely quick.
Deadpool was able to grow his arm back in a day.
Or when he was literally liquefied and he managed to recover from that. Mm-hmm. Not quite so with the Abyssians, but their healing factor is pretty insane.
Yeah.
And due to their regenerative abilities, the Abyssians can live up to 300 years.
Okay.
And they are considered children from 1 to 30 years old. So they stay young for a really long time.
Okay.
Then they are considered a young adult from 31 to 65 years, and an adult from 66 to 150 years, middle age from 151 to 220 years, and old from 221 to 300 years. And of course, beyond 300 is where they're considered venerable. Like, it's insanely rare for an Abyssian to live beyond 300 years. But yeah, the Abyssians are usually avoided by other sentient beings in the galaxy. Even their arid homeworld has unstable resources, which did not promote a high population boom, and the Abyssians didn't have a unified government, only living among nomadic tribes, so essentially they're a step above cavemen on their own homeworld.
They kind of look like cavemen too.
That is fair. It's been a good while since we've played Star Wars 5e, but on the literal playable race account, there's the Abyssians. And, of course, they got good healing factors and all that, but they are one of the few races that aren't good with technology. Like, you literally cannot play as an engineer or anything like that as an Abyssian because they just can't learn technology.
That kind of sucks.
Yeah, it kind of does suck. Even if you make them super intelligent, it's just, nope, that's an inherent part of their race. They can't learn technology. Which I think is kind of dumb, but it's a gameplay perspective, so it makes sense, I suppose.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to incorporate all of what the race is.
Yeah. And due to this, resources is very hard to come by. And normally tribes, if they had good resources, they would have a fairly peaceful relationship with other tribes. But of course, if they are short on resources and another tribe has resources, they would usually go to war with them. If a tribe, let's see, there would be a ceremonial conflict called the Blooding, a brawl which only ended if one's tribe's warriors were killed, captured, or incapacitated. If a warrior of a losing tribe survives, they are allowed to rejoin the winning tribe, after they fully heal, that is. But yeah, conflicts between Abyssians were brutal, but they are kind of self-aware of this, so they could go ham anytime they wanted to on each other. Which kind of led into this one hilarious / dark incident where off-worlders decided to open trade with the Abyssians. Like, hey, we got water, we got food, and then the Abyssians just killed them all because they were on the assumption that these off-worlders can heal just as quickly as they can, which is kind of sad when you think about it.
A little bit.
Kind of a you don't know your own strength sort of thing. But older Abyssians would lose their ability to regenerate, and they would either voluntarily exile themselves to die in the desert or were ritually executed by the tribe. The Abyssian language consisted of grunts and growls, while hieroglyphs were used to communicate in written languages. So that's a nice little short but simple lore on the Abyssians. I think they're kind of interesting, especially their healing factor. I remember when I was doing the D&D campaign, one of the bounty hunters that me and Urk the Turtle developed was this Abyssian bounty hunter who was especially fast with his regeneration. The only way you could kill the fucker was by dousing him in fire.
Well, RJ could have done that.
Yeah, but you wouldn't know that yet. But let us go ahead and move on to the next alien race. And I'm going to try something with you, Hannah. I'm going to have you briefly read this quote for me. I'm going to send it to you right now.
Knew them all as children, forgot them as adults. Legend is fiction, myth unreal. It is easier to set aside childish things in the false illumination of adulthood because the fears of childhood are always formed as truths. Some truths are harder than others, some folktales are far more frightening.
And that is a quote from a member of our next race, who are called the Anzati.
I've heard of the Anzati.
Yeah, they are the resident vampires of the Star Wars universe and are a major significant race in Legends and recently reintroduced into canon.
Of fucking course. I thought, okay, they defied the appearance that I thought they would. Because I've only seen the third picture used on the Star Wars 5e website.
Ah, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Okay, that they're not as weird as I thought. Still creepy, you know, because vampire.
Yeah, when we get into them, you'll understand how creepy they really are, Hannah. The Anzati are a mysterious near-humanoid race native to the mid-rim world of, well, Anzat. You know, the typical name your race after your planet sort of motif going on there. Upon first impressions, they could be easily mistaken for a human or another near-human race, as you saw in the pictures there.
I literally just said that's a human.
But, yeah, their true appearance is revealed with their two tentacle-like proboscis, which they hide in their cheeks and they use them to feast on the brains of their victims. But they are also an extremely long-lived species with regenerative abilities beyond that of an average human. They are also telepathic, allowing them to dominate an individual's mind and giving them an opportunity to feast on their brains. Xenobiologists find very few opportunities to study the Anzat, but the few sketchy medical reports found indicate that the Anzat have no natural biorhythm, meaning they have no pulse.
Oh.
Yeah.
So their body doesn't run on an electric current like we do.
Yeah, or radiate heat. So they are literally a cold race.
Interesting.
Yeah. To this day, it is unknown how their circulatory system functions, but one of the more well-known aspects of a race is that even the youngest of the Anzat are considered ancient. An Anzat is considered a child from the age of 1 to 12 years, a young adult from 13 to 99 years, an adult from 100 to 649 years, middle age 650 to 799 years, old from 800 to 950 years, and venerable to 1,000.
Just like an ancient vampire would qualify to be an ancient vampire after 1,000 or 5,000 years.
Yeah.
That's just in, like, vampire lore.
Yeah, technically.
There's a lot.
Yeah. Technically, Strahd von Zarovich wouldn't be the oldest vampire out there.
He'd be an elder.
Yeah, he would be an elder. By that standard anyway. But yeah, the Anzat are a extremely long-lived race. Not as old as motherfucking Lady Tai from the Aigo campaign, but most Anzat recall the time where they were around when the Republic was a distant memory. They make the motherfucking Hutts, who are one of the longest living races in the entire galaxy, look like young punks by their comparison.
Damn.
But, and they are, okay, so they are so old that they have explored numerous planets across the galaxy, and they were the focus of numerous dark legends and folk tales, believed to be one of the first spacefaring races in the galaxy. The only source of sustenance that the Anzat have is the life essences of other sentient beings instead of blood.
They eat their life.
Yeah, they eat their life essences, which they call the soup. I know, it's really weird, but they literally call it the soup. Yeah. And if they do not feed at least once every day, they get hungry. They are predators of sentient beings, and since they seek life essence from those who they consider strong, because of it, they possess superhuman speed and agility, along with quick reflexes. They also have exceptional physical strength. The weakest Anzat is said to be as strong as a normal human, so you can imagine how strong they would be if they would be beyond superhuman, essentially. Though the way they prey upon others is much more subtle than simply strong-arming them into submission, the Anzati have a natural ability akin to a Jedi's mind trick that they use to bewitch their victims, luring them away to a place of their choosing, where they can begin their feeding cycle.
These guys literally are vampires.
Yeah, they literally are vampires.
Vampires can hypnotize too.
Yeah, and then once they are well out of sight of everybody, they take out their tentacle-like proboscis and slid them up the nose of their victims and start sucking their brain.
Ew. That's disgusting.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, they feed on what they call the soup, they also term it as luck or the sea of memories. Which is, as it's pretty obvious, the brain matter as well as the force sensitivity of a living being.
Yeah.
So essentially, they are feeding on the force, or the force essences of sentient beings. The more connected an individual is to the force, the tastier they are for an Anzat, which makes Jedi especially tasty for them. They're like an all-you-can-eat buffet by their standards. But even though they look like more than a tasty snack, even the strongest of Anzat don't want to mess with a Jedi.
That's a smart idea.
Yeah, a very, very smart idea. Weak-willed victims are seen as no better than table scraps for an Anzat. And if they ever find themselves stranded on a planet without a single sentient being in sight, they would starve to death. So even random animals like rats would be below table scraps for them.
I mean, that's, again, going back to vampires.
Mm-hmm.
In Interview with the Vampire, Louis lives off of the blood of rats.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in his first few years as a vampire.
But yeah, because of their reputation, the Anzat are given the nickname of snot vampires. I know, it's not very intimidating sounding, but...
That's more gross than anything.
While this might give the impression that the Anzat are heartless monsters, they see it as no more different to other sentient beings who need to eat other beings to survive. Anzats have an appreciation for art, among other things, but mainly they see them as nice distractions, since they could live for a very long time. You gotta think it from their perspective. They could outlive a majority of races. Heck, they could even outlive most civilizations in the Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah.
You gotta have a hobby to kind of distract yourself every once in a while. It's just over the span of many years, you look like a scholar to the younger races. But for the Anzat, it's just, what? I just thought it was cool looking. But it is also theorized that they may have influenced the ancient Sith on Korriban, even adopting the Anzat concept of eating the memories of their victims with the blood soup, which is frequently, tasted by the Sith.
Okay.
Like drink the blood of your enemies to gain their vigor sort of thing. That was adopted from the Anzat's soup. But yeah, the Anzat are a very interesting species, and they were a prominent race in legends. Like Quinlan Voss encounters them frequently. Ayla Sakura, as you saw in the picture, has to fight an Anzat. And now they're reintroduced into canon, which I think is pretty exciting. Alright, I know you have arachnophobia, so you might have to look away at this one race.
Is it the spider one? The one with the 4 eyes?
If you're talking about Admiral Trench's race, I did have him on the list before, but his race had so much lore, it was surprising, so I had to take him off of the list.
Okay.
But this is another arachnid race. These guys are called the Assemblers. Do you still want to see the pictures, Hannah?
I will quickly glance so everyone can hear my reaction.
Okay, hang on a second. Where the fuck did you go? Here you go. Boop. Just real quick.
Oh my god, no! Be gone!
Alright, I'll quickly...
Fuck this!
Okay, I'll quickly delete that.
Ew. If it's not obvious, I hate spiders.
If it wasn't obvious, Hannah, there are a surprising amount of spider races in Star Wars.
Fuck that!
But the Assemblers are a large, enigmatic, arachnid race who live in large tube-like webbings floating in the vacuum of space.
You had to get killed with fire.
Well, vacuum is a absence of oxygen, Hannah.
How do explosions happen then?
Touche, Hannah.
Nothing in Star Wars makes sense. You know this.
More accurately, supernova, that bitch. But yeah, the Assemblers are, if it wasn't obvious from the quick glances, these guys are 9 feet long. They are huge boys. Basically, these guys float in the vacuum of space, gathering knowledge, and they can make smaller versions of themselves called nodes.
No!
But the Assembler is a singular intelligence, and nodes are like drone-like versions, which it creates from its neural tissue.
That's creepy.
It is a little bit creepy, yeah. They are known to create their own structures held together by webs, which are also connected to the Assembler's neural fibers, which allow them to coordinate the other nodes in their day-to-day routine. Like, for example, they could have one node do finances, they could have another one keep an eye out for intruders, and another one to talk to visitors, that sort of thing. Though despite this, the Assemblers tend to be possessive creatures. It would on occasion act as scavengers, should anything be trapped in their webs, like, a normal spider would. These normal items could enhance the Assembler's webs in some way, and they could even become jealous of their own nodes, who slowly become more sentient, and they move to limit their intelligence. It's said that the only way a new assembler could be made if one of the nodes kills the original assembler and becomes them. But normally, even if an assembler is killed, there is a way to resurrect it by applying a surge of power to its webs, which causes it to remember itself and reform its body. So even if you do kill it, the web will just remember it and reform.
What about if you destroy the web?
Well, then the assembler would be killed.
Okay. Someone find me a flamethrower.
But yeah, the most famous assembler is one by the name of Kurar Mudad, who is a go-between for many less than legal activities in the galaxy, and one of its many frequent clients is the Bounty Hunters Guild. So essentially, this guy is the information broker who gives out bounties and all that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. It just goes to show how unique the Star Wars galaxy is with its numerous races. Alright, so this next creature is not quite as creepy. It's not, okay, I say that, but it's creepy in a different aspect. So this is a creature that has been memed to death by fellow Star Wars YouTube channel, Getsy's. I introduce you, Hannah, to the Balar. The Balar.
Okay, that first one was fucking creepy, but the second one's funny. They're all just stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, the two first ones
Their
that
eyes are weird.
I know, the two first ones are the only official artwork that I could find. I decided to throw a fan work for you to get a better look at what they are supposed to look like, because black and white doesn't really help a lot.
No, it's just like with the Strill, because the only like solid picture of a Strill is the black and white one.
Yeah, it's the friendly dog looking one, but still it does look adorable, black and
does.
white. But yeah, the Balar are a species of small, hairless, bear-like creature.
They look like not guinea pigs, hamsters, overgrown hamsters.
You know, they, yeah, if you give them a neck, yeah, they kind of do look like hamsters. Yeah, I could see that now. But yeah, they are native to the mid-rim world of Mina 2. Mima 2? Yeah, Mima 2. Upon first impressions, the Balar are the epitome of adorability, resembling the popular children's toy, which is the teddy bear. To others, however, they were the pinnacle of revulsion, as the Balar are a hairless and pink-skinned primates who mainly walked on their two legs, but could also walk on all fours. Getsy's kind of did a major meme of different races in the galaxy that were normal, and then went straight over to Sith spawn abominations. And they used my Sith Witchling for that, by the way.
That's cool.
So yes, shout out to Getsy's for that.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, and shout out to him or them more accurately, for introducing the Balar to me. The Balars are completely hairless, and they are susceptible to sunburns. But due to their world, which is mainly a jungle world, they hide among the foliage of their forest to avoid the sun. They have excellent low light vision, which allowed them to see in the infrared spectrum, and their ears can detect both infrared and ultrasonic sounds.
Okay.
Their physical characteristics, while unsightly, isn't exactly their most infamous part. An individual Balar is unintelligent, comparable to a normal cat or rodent.
Okay.
But their true attribute is showcased when they are within a group. The Balar are a unique subsect of sentients called a group mind. So the more Balar there are, the more intelligent they are. Kind of like naked mole rats, which are like one of the few eusocial mammals in the entire planet. But how this works is ill understood by xenobiologists, but they seem to have a combination of factors such as pheromones, physical touch, and telepathy. These groups are commonly called Quilica, A qualica of 2 Balars are as smart as a domesticated dog. A qualica of 3 is at least that of a lower primate. 4 of them would begin true sentience. 7 Balar are credited as genius by other species, and 10 members have been recorded, and I assume those guys are beyond super genius. Their homeworld of Mama 2 was the host of many types of predators, which made the ancestors of a Balar to evolve into intensely social creatures, drawing safety in large groups, which became so ingrained that they literally could not survive without each other.
Damn.
And I just seen a little bit of parallels between the Balar and the Togruta, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I could see that too.
Yeah, because I still remember that joke we made about an elder Togruta breaking their leg and they're like, die.
It's like, sorry, honey, we gotta leave Grandma behind.
We gotta leave Grandma behind. Or as one of my patrons like to meme, then perish.
Yep.
But yeah, the Balar, they are kind of a interesting race because, yes, they are creepy, but it's just that if you ever encounter these guys in a fight, they would be super smart, but you would just have to kill them one by one to kind of just dwindle their intelligence, which is bizarre to think about.
It is.
But there's also a literal saying or a Balar quote where it's like, one of us likes this, the other not so much.
Like, one of us tells the truth and one of us always lies.
Taken to a whole other level, Hannah, which I think is hilarious.
If anyone doesn't know that quote, you're living under a rock.
Yeah, that is a great trope. One of the oldest tropes in the book for riddles.
Quote.
Oh, yeah.
One of us tells the truth and one of us always lies.
Oh,
if you get my
boy.
reference, thank you.
Anyway, the Balar would climb to the top of their world's food chain, and they became the dominant species of their world. Also, kind of a thing to point out in case anybody thinks that they are flesh eaters, they are herbivores, so you don't have to worry about them murdering you in your sleep.
I'm still gonna picture those eyes in my nightmares.
That is true. That's exactly what Getsy said about them. Their eyes will always linger in your nightmares.
Yep.
Which is why I think the fan art looks a lot better in
It does.
comparison. And kind of adorable, just
They kind of remind me of hairless Care Bears.
hairless Care Bears or hairless Winnie the Poohs.
Yes, they look more like Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the Balar, they kind of live in a kind of utopian society on their home world. I mean, there's no like cosmopolitans or anything like that, but they live on a large production of manufactured goods, so they're not suffering starvation anytime soon.
Okay.
And they made contact with the galaxy by the time of the Galactic Civil War. So they're a fairly recent race. Even though they do have an abundant life on their homeworld, some Balar do find opportunities to explore the wider galaxy. Some of them would work as circus performers, others as musical troops, and others as an acting group, that sort of thing. On the darker side of things, most would serve as bounty hunters or assassins. There's even a couple of prominent Balar crime lords, which I think is pretty cool to think about. But yeah, that is a brief little shout out for the Balar. So yeah, hope you rest easy tonight, Hannah.
I don't know.
All right, so for the next one, let me give you a nice little quote. I know the difference between these guys and a demon, and I'd rather trust a demon.
Okay.
You want just a random shot in the dark. Who are these guys?
I think Deveronians.
Yeah, Deveronians.
I was gonna say demon, immediate connection, Deveronians.
Yeah, Just the mere mention of trusting demons over these guys says a lot about them already.
I mean, prime example, Galt Renault.
Motherfucking goat, that motherfucker. I wanted to kill his ass so badly, but nope, here's a clone. Fine, I'll kill the clone instead, motherfucker.
Deveronians are
Motherfucking
good at
goat.
swindling.
Yeah, yeah. The Deveronians are a horned humanoid race native to the colony's world of Deveron. Their homeworld is prominent for its low mountains and deep valleys connected by thousands of rivers with no oceans on it.
Okay.
So yeah, the Deveronians are particularly a hunter-gatherer species who have thicker bodies than most humans, and as a result, they are a lot heavier than their appearance would suggest. They are literally thick-boned, Hannah. They also have a silver-based blood, which appears thick and black when exposed, along with a unique filtration system, making them heavily resistant to different types of toxins and poisons.
Interesting.
Yeah. And let me see. Deveronians are known to use sulfur as a stimulant to increase their speed and strength.
Gee, that doesn't feed into the demon comparison.
I know, exactly. Though their livers particularly struggle to cleanse their bodies of sulfur, so long-term use is not recommended for a Deveronian.
It's just like alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. In some individuals, the Deveronians are either resistant or outright immune to fire. Yeah, which is prominently shown in the Mandalorian TV show, where there's this one Deveronian bounty hunter played by Clancy Brown.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and the motherfucking Mandalorian uses his flamethrower on him, and he's just like,
Really?
which if it wasn't obvious, further supports their devilish appearance.
I was gonna say they remind me of tieflings.
Oh yeah,
Just
yeah,
without the
yeah.
tails.
Yeah, they do not have tails at all. But yes, they do have a strong resemblance to the tieflings. The Deveronians, I'm going to send you a couple of pictures. The Deveronians have the most dramatic sexual dimorphism between the
The males
and the females. Yeah, if you look at some of these pictures, they kind of look like two completely different races.
I didn't know that was. What the fuck?
I know. If you put them side by side, you would immediately assume they were different races.
They are different races.
Yeah.
What? No.
Yes, that is lore accurate. The horned ones are the males, and the furry ones are the females.
That is some bullshit.
I know.
That makes no sense. What the fuck? Okay.
Yeah, it's that dramatic, Hannah. But, yeah, it's the males that have the more devil-like attributes.
Well, that last picture doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. The females do have vestigial horns of their male counterparts, but it's not just their appearance that makes them that distinctly different between the two sexes.
Okay.
So let me go ahead and talk about further appearances. The females have a wide range of fur coloring from brown to white, and they have vestigial horn stubs. The males possess sharp teeth, and the females have normal human-like teeth. That said, 1 in 50 Deveronians have an inner set of male teeth and an outer retractable female teeth.
The fuck?
Yeah, so if they really want to, they could switch between their male counterpart teeth and their female teeth. I know, it's weird, Hannah. It's very weird. Okay. But yeah, the males are a lot more adventurous, and they never stay on Deveron for very long. They're the guys who literally want to explore the stars. They're the motherfucking dad who goes out for milk and never returns. The females, on the other hand, are a lot more contempt and less adventurous compared to their male counterparts. As such, the Deveronians are a matriarchal-based society, where it is the female's job to take care of the children and run the government of Deveron.
Cool.
Yeah, the males sometimes come to visit to see their children, make sure they send them money for, child support and all that, but otherwise, they wish to wander the stars, which the females are pretty much okay with because they see the Deveronians as a disruptive
It reminds
people.
me of how the Tagorians work, too.
Yeah?
They're the same way. They're a matriarchal society.
Yeah, pretty much kind of, okay, not quite like the, the Hapes Consortium, but yeah, kind of that ballpark.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool, but...
and to a more extent of just male and females in a race being separated, the Night Sisters.
God
the Night
damn
Sisters
it.
and the Night Brothers.
That should have been the most obvious one that I went to, but I did not think of that. But you beat me to it.
But I immediately thought of the Tagorians because it just clicked.
Interesting.
Like, the Night Sisters, definitely.
Yeah, definitely the Night
And
Sisters.
to a lesser extent, the Hapes Consortium.
Yeah. The Deveronians are one of the first sentient races to independently develop the hyperdrive alongside the Duros and the Corellians. Thus, they are both feared and respected by a majority of people in the galaxy. Though they had a severely strict capital punishments, always resulting in death. So the females, you do not want to fuck with female Deveronians.
And my mom.
God damn it, Hannah. Not wrong. But okay, so usually the death penalty, it's mostly for people who committed mass murder or people who betrayed the Deveronian government, basically. They throw them in an arena to be killed by a pack of creatures called Vaquara, who are like spiky-looking wolf creatures.
Okay.
This capital punishment is so brutal, it was tolerated by the Galactic Republic, but the New Republic denied Deveron membership because of that very cruel system.
Smart idea.
Yeah, very smart idea. I'm very surprised that the original Republic tolerated Deveron for a time.
My dude. The original Republic tolerated Rylos slavery.
Okay. You got me there, Hannah. You got me there. But no, I think the Deveronians are a very interesting race. Motherfucking... Some of their members that I have gripes with aside, I do think they are a very interesting race.
Yeah, more interesting than I thought them out to be.
Oh yeah, and that huge divide,
Sexual
dimorphism between the sexes makes them kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Especially the female Deveronians. I know a couple people who would have the hots for them. Alright, next one that we'll briefly cover, but we know a good amount about. Well, in lore and our own homebrew lore. The Diathem.
Yay!
Yes, ones that you played and have a good familiar with, Hannah.
Yes, I love the Diathem.
Yeah, the
They're one of my
Diathem
favorite
are
races.
awesome.
They're criminally underutilized in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, unfortunately so. Now let's go ahead and nerd out about them together, Hannah. But yeah, as you and I both know, the Diathem are a mysterious race of winged sentients native to the world of 1,000 moons, or more specifically, their home world of Milius Prime and the main world of Aigo.
Yeah, everyone thinks, or the usual misconception is, Aigo's the homeworld of the Diathem. No, it is Milius Prime.
Yeah, Milius Prime is their homeworld. Not to say that they can't live on Aigo.
They can.
Yeah, because these guys can literally fly through the vacuum of space, which I think is pretty cool.
They can fly and breathe in the vacuum of space
Exactly.
because they don't need to breathe.
Yeah. If you do recall, they do have different appearances, like the humanoid version from the Clone Wars, or the more insect-looking one from, I think it was a Source Guide, if you remember a while back.
Yeah, the ones you kind of base the armor off of.
Yeah, that's kind of me and Erk's headcanon on why they look so dramatically different. One was wearing armor, while the other one wasn't.
Yeah, it was a good way to explain it.
Yeah, but the most unique thing about the diatham is that, okay, so outside of their glowy look, they are called the angels. And that is for very good reason, because a lot of smugglers, or people who just find themselves on near Aigo, are encountered by these glowing angels who guide them away.
Yeah, because they're curious about the ships. Either they either lead them to crash or they lead them away.
Exactly. It could go either way.
More the former instead of the latter.
And with many people calling them the most beautiful people in the entire galaxy.
I mean, their glow can be so bright that they can cause ships to crash anyway.
Exactly. But another unique thing that I think is kind of interesting and kind of pose the question on if they are innately force sensitive is that their appearance changes on whatever species views them. Because in some accounts, for humans, they look like flying, glowing humans. For Rhodians,
from what we see in the Clone Wars.
Yeah. And for other races like the Rhodians, they just look like Rhodians, so on and so forth.
With wings?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I just think it's I'm just curious if they have a true physical form, if that makes any sense.
True. I just, personally, when you and Erk, rest in peace, mate, were developing that, and of course, I had a diatham character in D&D. I just came to the assumption that the diatham were naturally force sensitive.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense considering that their homeworld of Aigo, along with the Thousand Moons, is within the Excrelium Nebula, which is kind of interesting to have an entire world within a nebula like that.
Yeah, there is no sun.
Yeah, there is no sun.
They get their light from the nebula, and there's no night there.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
The only planet in the system that can experience night is Aslan.
Yeah, that's one of the moons anyway.
Yeah, one of the moons.
But yeah, all of that is homebrew stuff, but I really need to return to doing more homebrew
it's
lore.
More information than what fucking canon gives us.
Exactly, but at least we have more lore on the diatham compared to their land-bound cousins, who are the Mayonnaise, who are also called the
quote-unquote demons.
Quote-unquote demons, and they look more golden and more hunky-looking than their diatham cousins.
Yes.
But I think it's also kind of interesting. There's this nice little correlation that me and Erk had a while back. The Abyssians share the same sector with the diatham, which is called the Ash Worlds.
Yes, they do.
Which is a heavily irradiated part of the galaxy, and it's mainly inhabited by mythical looking races. Like the Abyssians are cyclopean looking, the diatham are very angelic. And there was another one, if I can remember, the Chororians, who are basically centaur people.
The Chironians.
The Chironians, thank you.
Yeah, that makes sense. That kind of does make sense.
And that just makes me wonder, like, yes, it's a radiated part of the galaxy where it was bombarded to oblivion by the Hutts.
I think the bombardment and the radiation caused some anomaly in the Force to make these races.
That is true. Wounds in the Force are a thing, so you might not be far off. Who knows?
Conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy theory. Are the Ash Worlds secretly a Force nexus? Who knows? Nobody cares, but who knows? But that's just another funny thing, like Anakin and Obi-Wan just casually go to this mysterious world to find the cure for a
Blue Shadow virus.
For the Blue Shadow virus. It's like, how the fuck?
How the fuck and why the fuck?
It just
And
opens
they're
more questions.
never mentioned ever again.
Nor did they make a huge deal about the one diaphem who told them about Milius Prime and all that.
Yeah, it
Or
was. And you don't see any other diatham.
or the motherfucking takeover on Milius Prime by the Separatists who abandoned it for some reason.
Yeah, that's why we came up with it ourselves.
Exactly. There's just so much story potential with that alone.
That was so underutilized.
And I am so glad I made an entire campaign with that.
Insert, fine, I'll do it myself.
I almost forgot about that Man of Thanos meme, goddamn. But
It fits.
Yeah, it does fit. And of course the the expansion of Lady Tai and her being the possible custodian of the diaphem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She's a star dragon.
She is a star dragon. We'll eventually talk about the star dragon as well as other dragon races in the future. Don't you worry, Hannah.
Add it to the list.
But yeah, that's enough of us geeking out on the diaphem. It's just such an interesting thing to talk about and bring it to a wider audience like this. Mm-hmm. But speaking of old faces, let's talk about another familiar race that has pestered you guys and, well, the party a good amount throughout the D&D campaign. I am of course, talking about the Abruzzi.
Ah, these little fuckers.
The squid fuckers,
I
yeah.
hate these.
Yeah, the Abruzzi aside from...
What, is that Thrawn?
Yeah, that's Thrawn talking to Abruzzi.
What the shit?
Yeah, there was one incident where Thrawn was exploring the unknown regions. He fought a bunch of Abruzzi pirates. He wins, of course, and then he has a little talk to them.
What the shit?
But yeah,
I guess only Thrawn could pull that off.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. The Abruzzi are a sentient race native to the unknown regions and are notable for their creamy white skin and mouths that are surrounded by worm-shaped tentacles. They are mainly a nomadic civilization, where they operate as pirates, holding a handful of star systems in the unknown regions, occasionally prowling the edges of the outer rim and wild space to prey on any wandering spacers, like normal pirates would do. While many of these pirates were composed of Abruzzi, they are made of other alien races that willingly join their ranks, as speciesism is a foreign concept to the Abruzzi, as you probably remember very prominently in our D&D campaign. Yes. Their original homeworld is unknown, but their history is devoted to conquest and were very warlike. Among other things, they are omnivores and can survive on rotting garbage if necessary. Though their appetite leans more to the sadistic side, where they swallow the wet flesh of freshly killed prisoners. They are also a lot stronger than they look and can take quite the beating while giving just as much in return.
Yes, they can.
Yeah, and this is all the lore that I can remember at the top of my head, but I kind of expanded more on the Abruzzi to make them much more alien for you and the rest of the party.
Yes, you did.
Especially with their antimatter technology.
Yeah, weren't they immune to radiation?
Yep.
Yeah, they were some weird fucking little things.
And they were also, well, not all of them, but their most powerful members were force sensitive.
Yep.
I had a lot of fun with the Abruzzi. Not to mention, you cutting off, or at least killing one of them, just brings them back to life briefly. Mm-hmm. Which I think is a fun aspect, but not so fun for you guys, but I think it was fun.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yay, we killed him. Psych! Oh, shit! But on the next races, this will be kind of a brief one, and going upon with that spoopy theme, here is what is called an energy vampire. Huh, why did it send twice? Anyway.
Okay.
This is the only depicted member of this race. As you could tell from the art style, it kind of gets introduced once in the Micro Clone Wars comic book series.
As with the case of the diatham, never mentioned again.
Exactly. But the energy vampires are beings who drain the life forces of others by way of biting into their victims. Very much like traditional vampires.
Duh.
Duh. They have retractable, serrated claws, elongated teeth, accelerated senses, and enhanced speed and strength. Those that they are able to completely drain are then turned into mindless zombies, and additionally, they heal all of their wounds, and when they heal all of their wounds when draining a victim. One member of his race, as pictured there, is a former Jedi named Renji, who was also a countess. But eventually, her story is that a fellow Jedi Master saw her true evil and sealed her away within a city with a powerful force barrier. And this is where the story of her encounter comes in.
Okay.
During the Clone Wars, Mace Windu stumbles upon this city when investigating a lost squad of clone troopers and was captured by the zombified inhabitants of a city, where the energy vampire hoped to absorb all of Mace Windu's life energy to eventually escape her imprisonment. Eventually, though, Windu would be freed by this droid named Z-18, who is this basically a hunchback-looking protocol droid that once served the previous Jedi Master, but now unwillingly serves the vampire. But he decided to help Mace Windu and led him to the holocron of the very Jedi who imprisoned her. And by activating it and using the words of banishment, Mace Windu basically reawakened the souls of those that Renji had drained, and the zombies would turn on her, killing the energy vampire. So yeah, nice little mention of the energy vampire. Wish we knew more about them, but that's all, folks. All right, the next race, it's a relatively new addition to the to canon, or more specifically, the High Republic comics. And what we have here is what is called the Everini.
Okay.
So yeah, the Everini are a nomadic humanoid race which hailed from the world of Everon. The Everini were a humanoid race that have slate gray skin, long bones, thick, dark gray blood, and charcoal black eyes, which allow them to see in the dark better than humans. They are especially tough, but are still susceptible to intense cold. They possess black claws and sharp white teeth, both of which can be used to tear flesh.
Okay.
I know it doesn't specify, but basically all Everini have black hair, and any indication of red hair streaks among any of the race are basically a sign of aging for them. So instead of gray hair, they have red hair aging.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Little canon or fanon work that Eric and I came up with. The Night Sisters, if you have white hair when you are young, instead of getting gray hair, you get red hair.
Interesting. Okay. That's a nice little piece of fanon that
Yeah.
I never thought of, but still pretty
my
interesting.
character Clara had white hair.
Interesting. Okay. But let's see. One of their most defining traits is their ability to see the dead.
Oh.
And the dead appear to them as ghost-like figures. Or, additionally, they would hear voices in their head from the dead.
Okay.
Such figures could be supportive for the individual's actions one moment, or served as tormentors in another. So they're literally followed, supported / tormented by the dead.
Okay.
Some theorize that the Everini were hunted by those that they have previously killed, their souls doomed to follow their murderer forever. However, that usually isn't the case, as the Everini can see the dead of those that they didn't kill, like old ancestors, that sort of thing. Um, but also, the most individual Everini, kind of theorize that it isn't the actual dead, but more of a manifestation of their anger and guilt. Yeah. Um, and the Everini are kind of a tragic race because of their origins, as well as how a majority of the galaxy sees them as. The word Everini in their language translated to caretakers, which has roots in the trust of their stormy homeworld. And they decided, we'll live in harmony with nature. Their homeworld of Everon. Imagine it as like Typhon if it had never-ending storms all over. That's basically what their homeworld is like. And they decided, we're not gonna fight against it. We're gonna put our trust in our violent homeworld, that sort of thing. Though this trust was shattered in an event called the Great Storm, which destroyed much of their civilization, which created centuries of strife and war among the Everini race. This made the Everini believe that they could never again trust anyone or anything, only caring for themselves. Which is also kind of a dark twist on their original name, the Caretakers. They are still the caretakers, but they only care for themselves. This resulted in a smaller number of Everini who devolved into a untrusted race and carried the general stereotype of them being deceitful, the type of being who wished for shelter with a kind stranger, but secretly poisoned their food and drink and collected the valuables of their victims before leaving in the night. So they kind of carry the stereotype of the scorpion, the totem of scorpion sort of thing. It's in my nature. This caused many to use the nickname Planet Killers or Sharks as a racial slur against the Everini. It was also an Everini bloodline called the Rao Dynasty that led to the creation of the infamous pirate organization called the Nile. Like Nile is but Nile.
Like in Egypt.
Yep. And this is what the Nihilists look like. Yeah, the Nile are basically one of those big, bad, evil factions, kind of a replacement of the Sith Lords, since they're supposed to be extinct at this point. I would love to explore them one of these days, because they are kind of interesting in their own regard. But there's the Everini, very tragic race. I think they have a lot of potential to go about them, especially with the ability to see the dead aspect, which I think is really cool for role-playing purposes.
Yeah, that is.
The next one will be kind of a little bit funny, but I don't know where else I'm going to mention these little fuckers. Let me see, where are you? The next race, spoopy race that we'll be talking about are the Fair Folk.
Look like Jawas.
Yeah, basically, they're described as floating Jawas. They only appeared once in an old Star Wars comic.
I can tell by the quality of the drawing.
So basically, these guys are strong in the Force. In the comic that they debuted in, they served Darth Vader, who attempted to sway an oblivious Luke Skywalker to the dark side by setting up a psychic link between between Luke Skywalker and himself with the assistance of the Fair Folk. And the Fair Folk were being all like, oh yeah, we're very wise beings. We know everything about the Force, but secretly they're just tempting Luke further and further to the dark side of the Force. That was until Princess Leia arrived and freed Luke from the Fair Folk's trance. Very short, very sweet explanation of the Fair Folk. I know they don't necessarily fit on the list, but I just think I wanted to throw that in for the meme
It kind of
potential.
remind me of fairies.
Yeah, the Fair Folk.
Dark side fairies.
Dark side fairies. Yeah, that is fair. All right. I guess this one would also be meme potential. The next one are the Given. You probably remember these guys as the ghost mask fuckers.
It's literally take Ghostface mask and stick it on a wrinkly old thing.
Or as someone else like to call them, the personification of the Scream painting.
Yeah, I can see that too.
But okay, let me introduce you a complicated quote from The Given and what they're all about. Greetings. In the equation of A equals square divided by 1012 times 16,072 r times r e infinity to the power. Can you tell me what the value of A is?
Hang on, my brain hurts now.
I know. My brain immediately went to mush when I read that quote too.
What the fuck? I just got sent back to algebra.
That's just calculus.
Either way, fuck that.
So yeah, the Given are a sentient race native to the inner rim world of Yangdal. Many in the galaxy would describe the Given as living humanoid skeletons, which doesn't help the fact that they carry their arms and legs held out, almost akin to a Twi'lek string puppet. So they're literally T-posing, Hannah. They're T-posing their way to victory.
Okie dokie.
Due to their unique homeworld, which is surrounded by free moons, by the way, atmospheric tidal upheavals are extremely common upon their homeworld, which caused the Given's ancestors to develop a hard exoskeleton, which could be sealed at all external orifices from sudden depressurizations and temperature changes. It also gives them protection from physical harm. Thus, this gives the Given a phobia of exposed skin and would avoid seeing it in others. In order to maintain their sealed system, Givens needed to eat approximately 3 times more than humans of the same mass. So these guys are literally big eaters too. Due to this, the Given are one of the few races that could survive in the cold vacuum of space for a day. Though outside of their skeletal appearance, they are renowned galaxy-wide for their natural mathematical ability, which made them expert starship builders and astrologators. In fact, mathematics is so important to the Given society that they are ruled over by what is called a mathematical theocracy, or, as they like to call it, a mathomatocracy. They are literally ruled by math.
I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Fuck that.
You want to know what their government body is?
An equation?
Okay, that would have been great too. The body calculus.
That's like the Green Lantern. That's literally a fucking math equation.
I'm so glad you reminded me of that Green Lantern. Goddamn. Blast from the pads there, Hannah. Much like their exoskeletons, their mathematics skills were adaptations toward their homeworld's complex tidal systems, where they need to predict the randomly shifting and multi-dimensional differentials, and all political decisions were based on no model probability. So you remember from the, I know you probably don't remember this detail, but in the Confederacy episode, the body calculus basically made a mathematical equation of what the future of the Galactic Republic would look like, and it was not a good future. So that's one of the main reasons why they put it in there a lot with the Separatist Alliance. They literally predicted the future with math, which I think is kind of funny for a otherwise grotesque-looking race. But yeah, they spend as much time designing their starships mathematically as it took to build them, and so created some of the most impressive, complex, and sleek-looking ships in the galaxy, though oftentimes given ships are designed without a need for a Navi computer or even a pressurized system. So basically, if you ever purchase a given ship that was specifically made for a given, you're basically you're basically piloting a boat without oxygen.
No, you won't even get into space. You'll fucking die.
Yeah, exactly. For the given, it's like skill issue. But yeah, that's the given. I think they are a fairly interesting race, especially with the way they look and their mathematical society and all that.
Math, the worst nightmare ever.
This is a true nightmare, Hannah. This is the true spoopy thing in this entire episode. Math! Okay, another fair warning. This is another arachnid race, so take a quick look if you want.
Kill it with fire!
Alright.
Thank you.
Don't worry, it can't hurt you anymore, Hannah.
It's creepy. It's the eyes that are the most like skin crawly bit.
So anyway, that little cute guy was what is called
bullshit, not cute.
Is what is called Volucent, otherwise known as crystal spiders. They are a sentient arachnid race thought to be within the Void Fire Nebula. They are known to be curious about all other races and their own technologies. They were scientists by nature and built the Crystal Web Station to interact with other members of Galactic Society, and I will show you that space station. I didn't get a chance to send it. But yeah, they literally made that thing. But yeah, these guys, as much as they look creepy for you, Hannah, these guys are genuinely a very curious, very scholarly like race. They want to absorb as much knowledge as they can with the rest of the galaxy outside of a Void Fire Nebula. They also possess a unique perspective on the Force, which they call the Life Web, or the Weave, which they basically saw as a giant web of shining crystals interconnected with each other, which I think is also a very cool concept. Another race that has a unique perspective on the Force. All Lucents can see the Weave, but fewer have manifest Force powers and rarely use it to influence people at all. Like, they don't use mind tricks on anybody. However, they have proven to be quite adept with telekinesis and similar Force abilities. Additionally, all Lucents have the unique ability to calculate the fastest, safest, and usually the most convenient route in hyperspace between 2 points, without the use of navigational computers or astromech droids. This is a very similar ability to the Jedi Force power called instinctive astrogation. A majority of their technology, while similar to the wider galaxy, are made entirely of crystal webs and energy-charged gems that allow their ships to go in and out of the Void Fire Nebula without any ill effects. Which, just to give you a perspective, the Void Fire Nebula radiates energy so potent and deadly that it could cause ion damage to ships that are just near it. The Lucents are a very reclusive race and rarely share their technology with others because they basically look at everybody else as the irresponsible child, and they don't want to add more fuel to the fire that is the Galactic Civil War. Though in one case they did arrange a meeting between several individual parties. They will share their technology with the rest of the galaxy on one condition. They will share one piece of their technology, and it will be to all of the galaxy, not just one group, all of the galaxy. And on the Crystal Web Station, there would be a organization of a summit between free groups Agents of a New Republic, an Imperial Admiral with aides, and Order of the Hutt as representatives of these fringe groups. And this is all dived into in a RPG campaign of an old Star Wars game a while back. So basically it's a choose your own adventure sort of thing. But even though all three of these groups have the obligatory distrust between another, at the end of the day, they basically got the technology that they wanted to go their separate ways. Blue Scents are a fairly interesting race for me. Maybe that's because I'm a huge Arachno buff. And I just think they look adorable.
To each their own, but kill them with fire.
I mean, they look like more fucking jumping spiders if they were in a human body.
No! Spiders are spiders and they can die.
Yes, I am always reminded of your arachnophobe. Many occasion.
No, an arachnophobe is what I am. Arachnophobia is the phobia.
Alright, well, moving on from the arachnids, Hannah, let us talk about these guys who are called the Menahoon. Menahoon. These guys have the unfortunate nickname of little buggers or gremlins.
They don't look like gremlins.
Well, they're called gremlins by everybody else in the galaxy.
I know, but
but yeah.
we know what real gremlins look like.
I know. I need to watch that movie again, Gremlins. It's so fun.
Insert picture of Gizmo.
But anyway, the Menahoon are a furry, anthropomorphic lemanoid race native to the Outer Rim world of Lemuroid. And they are arboreal, which means they always live in the trees. These guys, if it wasn't obvious by the picture, are actually kind of small. They are around 3 feet tall and 11 inches. But they do have coarse, short fur that range from rust to olive green in color. The Menahoon have a poor taste of smell, but instead relied on their eyesight for, survival. Their black eyes are about as big as a biff's, and it allowed them to see shapes, but not colors, up to 65 feet away without any apparent source of light. So they literally have eagle vision, for lack of a better word. They aren't strong, but are extremely nimble and agile, especially in the trees. And while they aren't amphibious, they can hold their breath for many minutes underwater. The Menahoon live upon the ocean world of Lemuroid, which in their language is called the Great Menuha. And they basically originally were a pacifist culture of nomadic hunter-gatherers who respected sentient life. They live in tribes, and they usually come together to perform metaphorical fights to put on a show. But in more recent years, off-roaders who stumbled upon the world would hunt the Menahoon to near extinction, driving them away from their homes and making them antagonistic, on their cultural level.
Today,
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! I apologize for my stuttering. God damn it, I'm getting roasted over here. Alright, so basically, long story short, they kind of have a very tragic story, which is, very comparable to a lot of native tribes in our own world, and they have fought back and all that fun stuff. They do have shamans who are capable of using the force, which the Menahoon called the Palia. They are known to be massive pests and nuisances of off-roaders that settled on their home to the point where they, of course, would be called the Gremlins, because, they love to fuck shit up and everything. Though given that the Menahoon were recognized as a sentient race in more recent times, they were able to wander off-world for the first time. Most wish to become scouts among the stars, but it required they cut all ties to their ancestral lands. Once again, this race also is explored in a RPG campaign where you could settle the disputes between a tribe of these little fuckers and a mining guild. And, well, it's choose your own adventure sort of thing, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah. The next one might be a little bit goofy for you, Hannah, but it's old fashioned, so that makes sense, is what is called the Nightmare Demon.
Uh, I think Irk the Turtle had one of my characters. Yeah, it was when Kalara met Maul's mother, Kaisina. When she met Kaisina,
Okay.
it was a test of if Kaisina could trust her or not, and it trapped her in basically a teenage high school movie.
Oh, that is funny. That is so funny.
So I've had experience with these things.
Yeah. Yeah, but Nightmare Demon, I know it kind of looks a little bit goofy, but I think it's
It's
kind of
very goofy, but it's also terrifying.
It's basic. Yeah, it's terrifying. Yeah, it's just basically a monkey with a little human skull for a head.
And red eyes.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, the Nightmare Demon is the name given to a near mythical race from the Outer Rim world of Droxen. They are small primates with two tails, suction cup-tipped fingers, and have a bare skull. They possess strong telepathic abilities which allow them to drive other beings insane with nightmarish hallucinations.
Okay.
It was believed that they were exterminated many years before the Clone Wars, but some nightmare demons survived and fell under Imperial control. One particular nightmare demon was named Wrist, who was under the servitude of his man by the name of Elatan Wuhu, who sicked the little demon on Luke Skywalker, as you saw in that second image there. But the young rebel mortally wounded Wrist. But Wrist, even though he would slowly die from his wounds, he's smart enough to know that he was being used by this Imperial overlord. So he basically telepathically helped Luke Skywalker in killing his former master, who had enslaved him for years.
Okay.
And Luke Skywalker did accomplish that goal, avenging Wrist, and even made a small gravestone for probably the last nightmare demon in the entire galaxy. So yeah, Luke Skywalker technically led to the extinction of a species right there. Okay, so this next race doesn't exactly have a name, but I'm gonna throw it out anyway. On the world of Bray, there exists a vampiric-like race that resemble giant bats. And this will be very important. Let me go ahead and send it over. This is what they look like, bye.
That.
Man-Bat. I know, it looks exactly like Man-Bat. Like I said, we don't have a name for this race, but they have a special ability to infect other beings with a mere scratch, turning them into similar creatures. They can absorb energy, including those of blaster bolts and lightsaber blades, into their mouths. One notable member of his race is Lord Ravna, who hides away in the ancient Citadel of Light and regularly infects the native Byrunians. In time, he would be approached by a particular Count of Sereno Dooku, who wished to use his infectious powers in the wider Clone Wars against the Grand Army of the Republic. You could probably see where this is going. While Lord Ravna agreed to his alliance at first, he had ambitions to rule the galaxy for himself, and eventually his activities would draw the attention of the Jedi Council, who send Obi-Wan Kenobi and Audi Gallia to investigate. Long story short, they went to the Citadel of Light, where they encountered Dooku, suspected him of infecting the native people, but Count Dooku's like, oh no, I had never did anything. We're merely guests in his palace. And they're like, who? the Lord of Darkness, Lord Ravna, and then he makes his grand entrance. Um, so basically, Lord Ravna would capture the Jedi, and Count Dooku would shoot at Force Lightning at Adigalia, and Lord Ravna, he wanted to use that power for himself. Count Dooku was like, "Hey, remember our agreement?" And Lord Ravna was like, "I don't care. I don't follow your whims, Dooku," and he scratched him, basically transforming Count Dooku briefly into a vampire. And let me show you.
So that's what you meant
Yep.
when you turned into a vampire.
And here's a canonized vampire Dooku.
You play Dracula better.
Fair enough. But long story short, Count Dooku was infected, and as Lord Ravna was about to infect Obi-Wan and Adigalia, Obi-Wan decided to provoke Dooku by insulting him. Like, how could you let yourself serve the whims of this dark lord? I thought you were more powerful than that, Count Dooku. And Count Dooku's like, he basically rebels, and he fights Lord Ravna. Obi-Wan and Adigalia got the fuck out of Dodge and collapsed the entire citadel on Lord Ravna, essentially freeing everybody that was infected with his disease. And Count Dooku was no longer a vampire. And that's basically a brief little mention of Dooku becoming a vampire. I know a little bit anticlimactic in this instance, but that's where it comes from. Alright, the next one are what are called the Rosum.
Weird squid looking fuckers.
Yeah. The Rosum are a species of beings that come from another dimension. And they have ties with the Splinter faction of Jedi called the Order of the Terrible Glare. They can take a wide variety of forms, some that had bat wings, others that looked like multi-eyed octopuses, while others resemble reptiles or giant insects. Their method of movement was skittering and fluttering across the ground and had the uncanny ability to invade another being's mind by entering their mouth. The Rosum, while monstrous, do possess a language of their own, which was a requirement for Jedi Shadows to master along with their other unusual skills. And then moving on from that one, kind of short and sweet, the next one is what is called the Sentients. And you could probably tell the immediate inspiration with these guys.
Wolfman.
Yeah, basically they are nicknamed Wolfman. These guys appeared in New Hope briefly. Basically, one of the actors, or George Lucas more accurately, decided to use Wolfman costumes to make one of the native aliens. And that developed into this race called the Sentients, who are a lupine race native to the Outer Rim world of Uvana Prime, and are colloquially nicknamed Wolfmen by many spacers who encountered them. The Sentients were a product of natural evolution, as well as the intervention of unknown genetic engineers long forgotten to time. So these guys were a bioengineered created race. We don't know by whom, but somebody tampered with their genetic code. They had the unusual characteristics of a lupine race, such as a long muzzle with sharp teeth and claws, glowing eyes that allowed them to see in the dark, and the ability to run extremely quickly, either on 2 or all 4 of their legs. They are natural predators and possess keen smell and hearing, though they are sensitive to bright light as well as sound and the smell of damaging types, like, acid, for example. Some albino Sentients exist, though they chalk it up to secret experimentation by the Empire as opposed to a genetic mutation. As a whole, the Sentients are isolationists, sticking only to their homeworld and colony worlds, and they have restrictive trade laws, who are unapologetic in how they favor their own kind over off-world traders. though a minority of Sentients are known to be outgoing and travel the galaxy, but usually keep to themselves or their own kind. The Sentients are commonly employed as scouts, mercenaries, and bounty hunters, with even agents of the Empire commonly employing them as scouts. Which is kind of surprising considering how xenophobic the Empire is.
Well, they have Thrawn, so.
Well, that is also true. Um, okay. Let's see. And another brief one. This one also from canon. Next we have the Syrian story vampires.
A mix of the Anzadi and Nosferatu.
They're another very short but sweet race, only appears once. Basically, they absorb memories, stories, if you will, which is why they're called the story vampires. All right, and then don't worry, we're almost done here. You remember when you asked about the Umbarans? We're about to talk about them. So yeah, we got the good old white, creepy, shady-looking race called the Umbarans.
I still love the way they look, but
Oh, yeah.
fucking Sly Moore.
Sly Moore,
that
who just stares
stock
into your
picture,
soul.
She stares into your soul, and it's nightmare-inducing.
You know, I remember you compared Chronica to them once.
She does.
Yeah.
Chronica does look like an Umbaran.
With the way that their culture goes about things, they kind of just remind me of an entire race of Agent 47s.
I can see that.
Yeah, in more ways than one. Believe me, Hannah. The Umbarans are a near-human race that live in the expansion world of Umbaran within the Ghost Nebula, and are colloquially called the Shadow People. They are pale and bluish-skinned race that are notable for their gaunt and emaciated faces with gray marks around their colorless eyes. While the Umbarans do possess hair, they commonly come in black, silver, and white colors. All Umbarans, however, are normally bald or purposefully shave their head. Their colorless eyes allowed them to see in the ultraviolet spectrum and had the ability to read, subtly influence, and sometimes control the will of others. So they kind of have that vampiric quality to them as well.
Yep.
Their homeworld of Umbara is covered in eternal twilight, and bright flashes of light can disorient them. Masters of misdirection, an Umbaran can never reveal their true thoughts or intentions to anyone, and are known for their dark sense of humor. So you remember all the jokes that we make in our D&D sessions?
Yep.
Imagine the Umbarans doing that, but it's much more grotesque and grim.
Literally what Agent 47 does.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I said, they're an entire race of Agent 47s. Umbaran society is built on a finely detailed caste system, comprising almost 100 levels.
Fuck that.
Only those on the top 10 were given the chance to leave their homeworld.
Okay, so Sly Moore would have been in the top 10.
Exactly. And if you really think about it, it's pretty much in a similar vein as the Chiss, since we mainly encounter their aristocratic society part. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the Umbarans, we just encounter the most elite of them in the wider galaxy, technically.
That's some bullshit right there.
Exactly, yeah. Of course, it doesn't go into detail because 100 different caste systems? No way, bruh.
I mean, thinking about the caste system that is still going on in India, that was instituted when it was colonized,
Yeah.
it's not good. It's
No.
not beneficial for anybody.
No, it is not. No, it is not. But the Umbarans have a unique way of going up the caste system, so to speak.
How so?
They ascend by blackmail and subterfuge. Um, in more extreme cases, assassination.
Okay.
Which primed the Umbaran race for a life of politics. So yeah, they are pretty good
That explains
politicians.
why Slymore is Palpatine's right hand woman.
Yeah, any motherfucking Umbaran senator that you ever see in the Galactic Republic, they probably got their position through backstabbing.
Yeah, I don't want to fuck with them.
Exactly. However, if one is caught in such acts, they were met with harsh penalties, and their entire family would descend the caste system by a level. Successful maneuvering without getting caught is rewarded with prestige, making it well worth the risk for many Imbarans. So basically, they encourage backstabbing. They're basically, I think them and the Civ get along really great as allies. Hey, you backstab people. We backstab people. Maybe we could work something out here. But yeah, the highest form a Embaring could achieve is what is called Virotali, which comprises a council that ruled all of Umbara, and all of its members are considered royalty. Umbarans within the halls of a galactic republic are respected just as they are feared. Their ability to sway others with Umbaran senators rarely meeting anyone foolish enough to call them an enemy. Like, there's this one named Umbaran that respects Senator Amidala, but even Senator Amidala, of all people, doesn't want to call this certain Umbaran senator an enemy. Just a rival, so to speak. But let me see. Most of their technology is more advanced than the rest of the galaxy, and the Umbaran rarely share it with outsiders. Basically, their technology is so advanced, it's basically like a motion capture sort of piloting thing. Despite their prominence within the Republic since the beginning of its existence, they are, shock of all shocks, frequent allies of the Sith, with even a Sith Academy being built on Umbara.
What a shock.
They are also famous for their shadow assassins, who serve as Sith spies for the Brotherhood of Darkness, and hid themselves not just through the Force, but also from physical senses such as sight and sound. During the Galactic Civil War, Umbarans were used to root out anyone not loyal to the Emperor, which caused many, including several of Palpatine's most dedicated followers, to despise the Umbarans. Which basically strengthened xenophobic sentiment within the ranks of the Empire. Imperial intelligence particularly dislikes the Umbaran, since they are not immune to the Umbaran scrutiny. A resentment that grows each time an Umbaran unmasked a rebel double agent within the ranks of Imperial intelligence. So yeah, these guys are literally the Agent 47 and spies of a Star Wars universe.
Cool.
With the death of the Emperor over Endor, many Umbarans feared retribution from the Imperial Remnant and the New Republic and quietly slinked back into the Ghost Nebula until memories of their exploits faded with time and they slowly reemerged into the galaxy. So yeah, that is all of the creepy, spoopy races of a Star Wars universe.
At least you ended on a good note.
Oh yeah, the Umbarans are very interesting. Especially in the Clone Wars, where they have such advanced technology that they have like millipede tanks, basically.
I was thinking about making an Umbaran character.
Yeah, I think you. Let me see. No, it wasn't with Liel because. Yeah, it was a replacement character for Liel in case she died.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that now. But fortunately, Liel did not die.
No, she did not.
But yeah, I think the Umbarans are very interesting. Sly Moore in particular is a very interesting, if creepy, character. But yeah, that is our episode of Can Mayonnaise Kill a Jedi? Or in this case, oh my god, why are there so many creepy races? Or why are there so many spiders in the galaxy? Got any closing statements, Hannah? All right. Well, hope you guys had fun with this topic, listening to me talk about these creepy races. I had a lot of fun. It was there were so many races I had to take off the list. It was so hard not to include them, but I had to cut down for time
I
for
was
you
I was
and
gonna
me.
say we're already nearing 2 hours. If you had included more, I would have been falling asleep.
Yeah, I know, Hannah. I know. But anywho, I hope you enjoyed. Hope most of these races, all of them were new to me. The Balar were I knew for the longest time, but I knew I had to include them in this episode. But I hope you guys are having a wonderful Halloween. And yeah, beware of the creepy, spoopy shit that might be lying underneath your bed.
By the way, happy Halloween.
This is the way, and may the force be with you. Bye bye.
Bye.